Hi everyone, my name is Abdul Samir Sohail Mohammed. In this presentation, we are going to discuss about integration of Genie with SailPoint Identity IQ using REST APIs. In this presentation, we are going to have an introduction to Genie and Genie APIs used in the integration process and use cases involved in the integration process such as creation of joining or onboarding ticket, creation of exit or offboarding ticket, and provisioning failure ticket. And then we'll be discussing about our integration approach of Genie with SailPoint. Genie is a ticketing system. A ticketing system is a software platform designed to manage and track customer support requests. It streamlines the process of resolving customer issues, making it easier for businesses to provide fast and effective support. In our current integration, SailPoint raises two types of tickets in Genie. They are work order ticket and incident ticket. For example, onboarding and offboarding tickets come under work order ticket and provisioning failure tickets come under incident tickets. The APIs used for integration of Genie with SailPoint are generate authentication key, create a work order ticket, get a specific work order ticket, create an incident ticket, and get a specific incident ticket. Generate an authentication key. We are using this API to generate an authentication key which we will be using in other APIs such as create a work order ticket, get a specific work order ticket, create an incident ticket, and get a specific incident ticket. Here, this authentication key expires for every few minutes. Create a work order ticket. Here, we are using this API to create a work order ticket. Get a specific work order ticket. Here, we are using this API to get a specific work order ticket details like work order ID, request ID, creation date, and many more. Create an incident ticket. Here we are using this API to create an incident ticket. Get a specific incident ticket. Here we are using this API to get a specific incident ticket details like incident number, request ID, creation date, and many more. Generate an authentication key API. Here we are using this API to generate an authentication key which will be used in other APIs. The HTTP method used in this API call is get. The point to be noted here is this authentication key expires for every few minutes. In the request body, we will be passing attributes such as username, which specifies the username of the resource owner of Genie, and password, which specifies the password of the resource owner. Create a work order ticket API. Here we are using this API to create onboarding and offboarding tickets. The HTTP method we will be using here is post. As part of the request header, we will be passing attribute like authorization, which specifies the authorization key generated in the generate authentication key API. As part of the request body, we will be passing attributes such as customer company, which specifies the company of the customer who is raising the work order ticket. Customer first name, this specifies the first name of the customer. Customer last name. This specifies the last name of the customer. Customer person ID, which specifies the person ID of the customer who is raising the work order ticket. Summary. This specifies the brief summary of the ticket. Detailed description. This attribute specifies the detailed description of the issue or request being raised. IDAM location. This attribute specifies the location attribute of the target user. Employee ID. This specifies the employee ID of that particular target user. Template ID. This specifies the ID of the template to be used while raising the ticket. Get a specific work order ticket. Here we are using this API to get a specific work order ticket details like request ID, work order ID, create date, status, summary, and many more. The HTTP method we will be using here is get. Here we need the request ID of the ticket to get the details of that ticket. As part of the request header, we pass attribute such as authorization, which specifies authorization key generated in the generate an authentication key API. In the response body, we will be getting ticket details as request ID, which specifies the request ID of the work order ticket created, creation date. This specifies creation date of the work order ticket, work order ID. This specifies the unique identifier of the work order ticket being generated. Status. It specifies the status of the work order ticket. The default initial value for this attribute will be like assign. Employee ID. This attribute specifies the target user's employee ID. Detailed description. This attribute specifies the detailed description of the work order ticket being raised. Customer company. This attribute specifies company of the customer who has raised the work order ticket. Customer first name. This specifies the first name of the customer. Customer last name. This specifies last name of the customer. Customer person ID. This specifies person ID of the customer. Create an incident ticket. Here we are using this API to create tickets for provisioning failures in SailPoint. The HTTP method we will be using here is post. As part of the request header, we will be passing attributes such as authorization and content type. Here the authorization is the authentication key generated in the generate an authentication key API call. The request body we will be passing attributes such as description, which specifies the description or subject line of the incident ticket being created. Detailed description. This specifies the detailed description of the issue or the request being raised. Urgency. This attribute specifies the level of urgency of the ticket. 2. This specifies two email address of the incident ticket being raised. From email address specifies the from address of the incident ticket. CC. This attribute specifies the CC email address of the incident ticket. Assigned support company. This attribute specifies the support company to which the ticket being raised will be assigned to. Assigned support organization. This attribute specifies the support organization to which the ticket raised will be assigned to. Assigned group. This specifies the support group to which the ticket will be assigned to. get a specific incident ticket API. We are using this API to get a specific incident tickets details like request ID, incident number, create date, status, summary, and many more. The HTTP method we will be using here is get. Here we need the request ID of the ticket to get the details of that ticket. In the request header, we will be passing attributes such as authorization and content type. Here, authorization attribute value is the authentication key generated in the generate and authentication key API call. In the response body, we will be getting ticket details such as request ID, which specifies the request ID of the incident ticket. Incident number. This attribute specifies the incident number of the ticket. Create date. This attribute specifies the creation of the incident ticket. Status. This attribute specifies the status of the ticket. The default initial value for this attribute is new. 2. This attribute specifies 2 email address of the incident ticket. From. This attribute specifies from email address of the incident ticket. CC. This attribute specifies CC email address of the incident ticket. Description. This attribute specifies description or subject line of the incident ticket being created. Detailed description. This attribute specifies the detailed description of the issue or request being raised. Assigned group. This attribute specifies support group to which the ticket is assigned to. Assigned support company. This attribute specifies support company to which the ticket raised is assigned to. Company. This attribute specifies the company of the customer who has raised the request. First name. This attribute specifies the first name of the customer who has raised the request. Person ID. This attribute specifies the person ID of the customer who has raised the request, and many more. In our integration, there are 3 use cases. The first one is joining or onboarding ticket creation. The second one is exit or offboarding ticket creation. The third one is provisioning failure ticket creation. Let's discuss one by one in detail. Joining or onboarding ticket creation. Once the account gets created in the truth source, and then after the creation of account in Active Directory from SailPoint, the onboarding ticket creation process for the new joiner starts. The onboarding ticket creation process will flow as first, after ED account has been successfully created, we will make an API call of create a work order ticket API to create an onboarding ticket for the new joiner. If the ticket is created successfully, details of the created onboarding ticket like work order ID, request ID, creation date, and summary are fetched from Genie using get a specific work order API, and these details then are added to database table in the table called Genie Tickets table. If the ticket creation fails for some reason, then the email notification regarding Genie joiner ticket notification will be triggered. Second use case is exit or offboarding ticket creation. The termination process starts with the population of last working date of the user in truth source. which will eventually get aggregated to SailPoint. The exit or offboarding ticket creation process flow in such a way that first a scheduled refresh task checks for the condition if the last working day of the identity is less than a week away. If this condition is satisfied for an identity, then a lifecycle event called Genie termination ticket event will get triggered, which in turn triggers the workflow called Genie termination ticket workflow. In this workflow, we will be making an API call of create a work order API to create an exit ticket for the identity which is leaving the organization. Then if the ticket is created successfully, details of the ticket like work order ID, request ID, creation date and summary are fetched from Genie using get a specific work order details API. And then these details are added in the Genie tickets table of the database. And then if the ticket creation fails for some reason, then the email notification regarding Genie joiner ticket notification will be triggered. The next use case is provisioning failure ticket creation. Here we filter the provisioning failures in last 24 hours in applications such as Active Directory, GWS Gmail and OpenLDAP, and we include operations in the provisioning failures such as create, enable, disable and delete. Here a rule runner task named as Genie provisioning failure detection task is scheduled, which filters the above provisioning failure transactions. Then using the create incident API, we create one ticket per application specifying the provisioning failure details. If the ticket is created successfully, details of the created ticket like incident number, request ID, creation date and summary are fetched from Genie using get a specific incident ticket details API, and these details are then added in Genie tickets table of the database. If the ticket creation fails for some reason from SailPoint, then an email notification regarding Genie provisioning failure ticket notification will be triggered. As discussed, in the case of work order tickets like onboarding and offboarding, we will be adding details of the ticket like work order ID, request ID, create date and summary to the database. And in case of incident tickets, we add details to the database like incident number, request ID, creation date and summary to the database. So here we will be using a table named as Genie tickets, which contains columns such as ticket ID, request ID, created date and details. These ticket details are added to these tables. We will be using email notifications if in case SailPoint fails to create a ticket in Genie. Genie joiner ticket notification. This email notification will be triggered when creation of onboarding ticket fails from SailPoint. Genie exit ticket notification. This notification will be triggered when creation of exit ticket fails from SailPoint. Genie provisioning failure ticket notification. This email notification will be triggered when the creation of incident or provisioning failure ticket fails from SailPoint. Here in the integration process, we have developed few rules. Let us discuss one by one. The first one is Genie Tickets Rule Library. This rule library contains all the user-defined methods which are used in the integration process, which we will be using to perform operations like generate authentication key, creating onboarding and offboarding tickets, creating provisioning failure tickets, connecting to database, adding ticket details to database table, triggering email notifications, and many more. The next one is Active Directory after provisioning rule. This rule runs after the provisioning for Active Directory application is completed. So we use this rule in creating onboarding tickets which should be created after account is created in Active Directory as discussed earlier. So basically in this rule we check if the create operations account request of provisioning plan is successful or not. If this is committed, we make an API call from there to create an onboarding ticket. The next rule is Genie exit ticket event trigger rule. This is a lifecycle event trigger rule. This rule checks for the condition if the last working day of the identity is less than a week away. If the condition is satisfied for an identity, then a lifecycle event called Genie termination ticket event will trigger, which in turn triggers the workflow called Genie termination ticket workflow. In this workflow, we will make an API call of create a work order API to create an exit ticket for the leaving identity. The next rule is Genie exit ticket rule. This rule we will be using in Genie termination ticket workflow to make an API call to create a work order API to create an exit ticket for the leaving identity. Genie provisioning failure ticket rule. This rule is used to create the incident ticket by filtering the failed provisioning transactions in the last 24 hours and create one ticket per application. If in a particular application no provisioning operations are failed, then for that particular application no ticket will be created. Please do subscribe to ENH for technical updates. Thank you.